My brother has a way of charming everyone, even my girlfriend. When I brought it up, my parents brushed it off, saying it was just his personality. I'm 22, and my 18-year-old brother, Ethan, was adopted. My parents rescued him from a terrible situation when he was young, which made them incredibly protective of him. He became their favorite, and I can't help but feel a bit resentful about it. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but it's the truth. Growing up, this favoritism made me bitter toward my dad. Even though Ethan is now an adult and has just started college, my parents still dote on him. They prepared his meals and scheduled his doctor appointments until he moved out, something they never did for me at his age. I doubt Ethan even knows how to do laundry. They bought him a brand new laptop for school, while I had to save up for mine. They co-signed for his apartment, while I was stuck in a dorm with a random roommate who ended up stealing my things. Just little things like that. I met Mia, a 21-year-old student at university, and we've been together for almost 3 years. She's incredibly kind, funny, and attractive, and we share a close bond. We've talked about moving in together after graduation, and she's even mentioned the idea of marriage someday, even though we both know we're still quite young. I genuinely thought she was the one for me. We have this silly inside joke where if one of us asks, "What are you thinking for dinner?" the other has to respond, "I was thinking maybe you." It's ridiculous, but it's our little thing. Ethan got accepted to the same university as me. He could have gone to a better one, but he received scholarships to 3 Ivy League schools. My parents insisted he attend my university, believing it would be safer and easier for him to visit home. They didn't even discuss it with me. They said, "Isn't it great that you two can spend more time together, even though we rarely hung out at home?" I can't shake the feeling that Mia might be interested in Ethan, and it breaks my heart. I think it's partly my fault. When I was helping Ethan choose his classes, I noticed that his major overlapped with Mia's, so I signed him up for a few of her courses. My reasoning was twofold. I didn't know what else to base it on, and if they were in the same class, I could visit them afterward, show Ethan around campus, or give him a ride to the grocery store while still seeing Mia. I never considered the potential consequences. On the first day I went to see them after class, I introduced them, and we all went to grab a bite at a sandwich shop on campus. I quickly realized they were hitting it off. Mia laughed at Ethan's jokes, quizzed him on random topics from their studies, and seemed genuinely impressed by his intelligence. Don't get me wrong, Mia was still very affectionate toward me, so at that moment, I thought it was just her being her sweet self. She's kind to everyone, which is one of the things I love about her. But as time went on, I found it increasingly hard to tolerate their friendship. Ethan has a flirty way of interacting with people, and he doesn't seem to realize it. For instance, during a gathering at our place, he told one of the girls that she was so beautiful that if he saw her picture on a frame in a store, he would buy the entire shelf. He looked genuinely surprised when she asked him out later, and he declined. He behaves this way with everyone, including other guys, and now with Mia. It drives me crazy because no one else seems to find this behavior as concerning as I do. I'm convinced that if someone less attractive acted like Ethan, my parents wouldn't find it charming. I hate how every time Ethan meets someone new, they become instantly infatuated with him. It's been like this our entire lives, and it's all because of those annoying dimples and that innocent puppy dog look that makes people want to protect him. Meanwhile, I'm just the boring, average brother. Even during his welcome dinner with my friends, everyone was fawning over how charming and witty he was while I sat there feeling like a fool. One moment that struck me was when we went to a restaurant with my parents, and Mia was invited. She mentioned how delicious her food was, and Ethan asked if he could try some. Instead of just taking a bite from her plate like a normal person, he gently tugged on her sleeve, took her spoon, and thanked her after tasting it. She just giggled. Is it strange that I found that intimate? My girlfriend feeding my brother with her spoon? My parents thought it was adorable. They've been communicating more than I ever anticipated. They send each other links to songs they think the other would enjoy. It's something Mia doesn't do with me anymore. One day, I overheard her chatting with a friend in my apartment, and they were joking about how there are no guys in our major who have both brains and brawn. They're in STEM, so most of the guys are probably built like the Chicago bean. Mia quietly replied, "That's not true. Just look at Ethan. I have to admit, I cried on my bedroom floor that night, sitting against the wall. Mia has told me I'm smart before, but never in the same appreciative tone she used with Ethan. As far as I know, she's never made a comment about my body to any of her friends. The absolute worst moment came when our social group decided to go to McDonald's. We were joking about a flyer we saw on campus looking for nude models who would be paid generously. Suddenly, Mia stood in front of me and suggested that Ethan should sign up for it. Mia and a few other friends had an uncomfortably drawn-out conversation about Ethan's body and how he would make an excellent subject for a sculpture. They phrased it poorly, even though they were joking, and talked about how much he could use the money since he had been job hunting. They said things like, "You'd be perfect with your swimmer's build, and the class would love to draw your shoulders." Mia kept insisting, "Seriously, you'd make so much money," genuinely trying to persuade him. Ethan kept saying no, citing solid reasons for his refusal, but Mia and the others wouldn't let up until he stopped responding altogether. I sat there like an idiot, eating my fries while my girlfriend discussed how my brother would be an excellent nude model. I'm not a confrontational person, but during the car ride home, I discreetly mentioned that the entire conversation was strange and made me uncomfortable. I didn't like hearing how badly my girlfriend and her friends wanted my brother to be naked. Mia and I are not serious people, so I tried to say it lightly, but she took it to heart. She told me that my claim was the stupidest thing she had ever heard. She explained that she was just trying to be a good older sister to Ethan by helping him find work. I told her that while I wanted him to get hired, I wouldn't push him to do something like OnlyFans. She accused me of sexualizing an innocent job, which I could understand, but I explained that Ethan was uncomfortable and likely felt sexualized because of the specific comments they were making about his body. She became defensive, insisting she didn't mean it that way. We went back and forth for a while, neither of us raising our voices but both feeling upset. I ended up dropping her off at her place instead of taking her back to my apartment. After that, things felt weird for a few days. She didn't text me as much, and when she did, she seemed distant, sending shorter messages than usual. I saw her on campus with Ethan once, sitting on a bench and chatting, but I didn't approach them. I watched from a distance for a moment before leaving. I'll admit that since Ethan moved here, I've tried to be an especially good boyfriend to Mia. If Ethan complimented her hair, I'd buy her an expensive hair product to make it look even better. I've always indulged her, but I stepped it up a notch when I felt competitive. Last month, I spent about $200 on concert tickets after Ethan mentioned he liked the same band Mia did. I know that was a pretty regressive way to deal with my insecurities rather than just talking to Ethan or Mia, but I didn't want to admit that I was jealous of Ethan like I had to when we were kids. I just wanted one part of my life that was mine, one that offered me undivided love and care. I believed Mia was that person for me. Now, whenever she mentions Ethan or I think about them in class, I feel physically uncomfortable. It's driving me mad. The day after our semi-argument, I felt insecure and texted Mia an apology. I suggested we take a trip to a nearby lake town, something she had wanted to do for a year. She already had plans for what she wanted to do there, and she was thrilled because I had always been too busy with school and my part-time job. We picked a weekend, and the previous week was spent planning activities and packing while she booked us a hotel room. She had so many ideas, and she seemed to be enjoying herself as she organized everything. For a brief moment, everything felt normal, like it had before Ethan arrived. When she mentioned buying ice cream, her eyes lit up with excitement. And when I joked about getting a king bed at the hotel, she blushed like she had when we without saying anything more. This all happened about a week ago, and I haven't seen them since. Ethan texted me, asking for a one-on-one conversation. I figured Mia must have told him about our fight, but I blocked him. My parents called to ask why I wasn't talking to Ethan, and I made up an excuse about being too busy with my studies. They seemed suspicious but didn't press the issue. Mia texted me the next day, asking if we could talk, but I didn't respond. She sent several more messages over the next few days, but I couldn't bring myself to reply. I saw her across campus once and hid in a building to avoid her. I know it sounds silly, but I just couldn't face her yet. Do I really believe Ethan is interested in Mia? He's definitely been sheltered by my parents and doesn't know any better. But do I think Mia likes him? Yes. and I still adore her so much. I can't stop thinking about her. We've been together for 3 years, and everything was going great until Ethan showed up. But what if I'm wrong? What if she just sees him as a good friend? In their defense, I've never told Ethan to stop flirting or mention to Mia that her friendship with him bothers me. I even put them in the same classes and introduced them. Maybe this is all my fault for being so insecure. But why did she have to invite him on our romantic getaway? I honestly don't know what to do. Update: a lot of you were harsh on my attitude toward Ethan, which I suppose I deserved. However, some of you don't understand what it's like to grow up with someone who is always the center of attention. And to those who claim I'm making this whole thing up, I wish I were. Anyway, here's an update on what happened with my 22-year-old girlfriend, 21-year-old Mia, and my adoptive brother, 18-year-old Ethan. I tried to keep track of events as they unfolded, but I apologize if this message is still lengthy and confusing. Since my last post, a lot has happened, but most of it has been conversations rather than dramatic events. To clarify some comments, I blocked Ethan because I was angry at him for causing all of this. I didn't explain why, I just blocked his number. At my university, juniors can take classes with freshmen. There are pathways to graduation, but you can complete them at your own pace. Mia is enrolled in a 5-year program, so she's currently taking lower-level classes that she didn't have time for before. Mia never suggested that Ethan do OnlyFans, I just brought it up as a parallel to the modeling issue. Some people in the comments assumed she actually proposed that, which is incorrect. Why didn't I think Ethan liked Mia? I hated the way he treated her, but it was nothing compared to how he interacts with his high school friends. He's just a really physical person, which I believe stems from his past. My parents once told me that when they first adopted him, he refused to let anyone touch him, and now he's gone in the opposite direction. Sorry for offending anyone in STEM, I was just trying to make a joke. I'm sure some of you are built like Greek gods. On to the update. After reading many of your comments, I realized I wanted to at least hear Ethan out before jumping to conclusions. So, I unblocked him and texted him to see if he still wanted to talk. He agreed right away, and we met at an off-campus coffee shop where we wouldn't run into anyone we knew. Ethan texted me because Mia had asked him about my background, and something she said made him think I was upset with him. She had noticed I'd been down lately and wondered if it had anything to do with how our parents treated us growing up. Ethan said he assumed I'd been avoiding him, which I had, but he didn't understand why. I asked him directly if he liked Mia, and he said no. He claimed he agreed to go to the lake because he thought I wanted him to come. Apparently, Mia had told him we were planning this trip and asked if he was available that weekend. He assumed she meant that we both wanted him there. I wanted to read their texts, which I know is a violation of privacy, but I was desperate. He hesitated before agreeing, which surprised me. We sat for almost 20 minutes while I scrolled through their conversation history. The texts weren't particularly explicit, but they still felt intimate. Mia gave him compliments, affirmations, and nicknames, and she spoke to him in a caring manner that made me feel special to her. She was constantly asking Ethan for help with academics, fascinated by his intelligence. I'll admit he's quite smart. She shared her future goals with him and sought his advice on some messages he sent to our mother, like "miss you" or "you're the best," complete with heart emojis. At this point, I trusted him, so I tried to explain how those messages made me feel. He apologized profusely and promised to stop talking to Mia. He mentioned that he had his own crush and suggested I invite her out on a weekend trip to get back at him. Ethan explained that he was just trying to make friends with my buddies so that I would hang out with him beyond just giving him rides. He said he didn't have many friends here because he was new to the school, and since I already had a friend group, he was attempting to join in with them. He wondered if I blocked him because I didn't like him, and it was hard to explain that while I didn't like him, that didn't mean I didn't love him. I tried to justify my feelings by pointing out our parents' favoritism, and Ethan said something like, "You're right. They seem to like me more. Maybe you're adopted." He never took it seriously, and we both laughed it off. I asked Ethan to describe Mia's interactions with him, and from what I could tell, Mia and her friends frequently commented on his appearance, knew he went to the gym regularly, and visited him while he was working out. Mia often gave him rides and suggested he come over to her apartment, which he had never done before. He didn't tell me sooner because he wasn't sure what behaviors were acceptable or not and assumed Mia just wanted to be his friend. He mentioned that they studied together in the library, and she would rest her head on his shoulder when she got sleepy. When they met at the mall, she helped him pick out clothes. He claimed she was always touching his arm while they talked and even fixed his collar before a presentation, little things that don't necessarily cross a line, but when combined, they paint an unfavorable picture. I gave him a crash course on relationship boundaries and explained why neither of their actions was acceptable. I encouraged him to stop flirting with everyone. Ethan said he just tries to treat women the same way he treats guys, but he promised to be more cautious in the future, especially with my friends and girlfriends. After talking with Ethan, I realized I needed to hear Mia's side as well. We texted back and forth for a while before deciding to meet. When we finally met in person at a park near her apartment, she looked like she hadn't slept well, which made me feel both bad and validated. She said that when we had our argument about the lake, my anger seemed to come out of nowhere, and she was scared because I appeared to be accusing her of cheating. She admitted she had no idea I was feeling this way and wished I had mentioned it sooner. She apologized for being close to Ethan but reminded me that I had never discussed my history with him. She thought I would be happy with how well they got along. I apologized for not communicating better. When I mentioned the texts, Mia opened their DMs so I could point out the one that concerned me, but I struggled to explain why. When I asked why she invited Ethan on the trip, she explained that she thought it would be fun since he seemed eager to join. She said she was just being kind by including him. However, she showed me texts in which Ethan asked if he could come over, not the other way around as he claimed. She denied ever visiting him at the gym or commenting on his appearance other than the usual compliments you'd give a friend. She agreed they had become close but insisted it was purely platonic and that she viewed him as a younger brother figure. She said she was making an effort with him because she understood how important family was to me, even if I had complained about him occasionally. Mia threatened to cut Ethan off if it disturbed me, but I told her we needed a break because, whether Ethan's interest was genuine or not, I believed it was. She burst into tears when I said break and asked if I meant to break up. I told her I didn't know yet, but I wanted some time to think. She was very emotional but soon realized that it was my issue, not something she had done. She congratulated me for being honest with her and encouraged my desire to work on my fears. There was a lot of back and forth between the two of them that I haven't included, and I was exhausted by this point. Their stories didn't match, and I wasn't sure who to believe. Part of me wanted to trust Mia because I love her, but another part felt like I had witnessed the signs firsthand. When I asked Ethan about the discrepancies in their claims, he seemed apprehensive. He stood by his words and indicated that Mia might have skipped class to meet him at the gym.